Batman number 21, Secret Empire issue number 0, and Plastic issue number 1 are just some of the books I'm going to be talking about today on Pay It or Slay It. Stay tuned, guys. Hey Frontline fans, welcome back to Comic Frontline, and guys, you're back with me, Mike Spider Slayer, getting ready to do episode number 9 of Pay It or Slay It. This is the video series where I go through a random of 10 books that I read for this week, and I discuss them with all of you, and I kind of make a decision if I were going to continue to read the book, drop the book, or just plain out get rid of the book altogether, and you know what I mean by turning it up, right? So, let's jump into episode number 9. There were some great issues this week. And what is the first book I'm going to be talking about? Well, it's going to be none other than... Bam! Sweet, what a good first issue to start with. Secret Empire, issue number 0. We didn't get a chance to cover this on Comic Frontline like maybe we should have, but at least we get to talk about it right here on Pay It or Slay It. Especially if I'll decide to be reading this going forward or not. So, with Secret Empire issue number 0, it's got a kick-ass cover. Writer is Nick Spencer and Daniel Acuna does the artwork. Now, honestly guys, when I first saw this book's artwork, I wasn't really fond of it. It's not my style. It's almost like painted and it's not as detailed. I was like, the facial expressions are off, but once I got 8 pages into this story, I felt like this was a pretty good read. You got kind of like an update of what's going on with Captain America, and then really the story starts. It gives you that opening page, it gives you who the players are going to be in this particular book, and then we wind up getting to see Captain America initializing his final plan with Hydra. You know, he finally gets all the power to lead S.H.I.E.L.D. into their, into their darkest moments, and just when you thought things were won, he winds up being a true dickhead and just winds up, sealing our heroes from the outside in space like Captain Marvel, and then he winds up taking over S.H.I.E.L.D. and it was just actually amazing to see all his strategic planning finally come into place after all this time, since like Pleasant Hill and all that stuff when he first became a Hydra agent. So by the time I actually got done reading this book, I loved seeing the shock value on Captain Marvel's face and Sharon Carter's face as well, and just seeing them all like, what? This is just the mind control thing, and it's like, hey, no, dumbasses, he's been playing you guys the whole time. So it really actually was a great read, and it's almost like you saw kind of like Captain America almost have like this reserve on his face, like he knew that this was wrong because he's been playing these guys this whole entire time, but his allegiance is to Hydra, and at the end we wind up seeing Riri Williams and Tony Stark, AI Tony Stark, escape and try to get a whole bunch of whatever Avengers are left out there to try to see what they can do to save the day. So really good introductory issue. I definitely recommend Secret Empire issue number 0. It was a good story to get things kicked off. Now it will be interesting to see how they can hold this. It's been always one of the weaknesses when it comes to the Marvel events. It started off really strong, and I think part of it is they tend to go on too long, and that's why people lose interest or they seem bored, and even the writer doesn't know how to actually close the story in many ways either. So we'll see what happens, but I definitely suggest Secret Empire issue number 0. Alright, let's move on. So the next book that we're going to talk about today is, bam, Red Sonja issue number 4. This is probably the only Dynamite book that I read, but nevertheless, I think Red Sonja has been phenomenal. Reminds me of a lot about like Wonder Woman, especially during the early issues of Rebirth with Wonder Woman, where Red Sonja has been misplaced in time. As the issues have gone along, she has managed to make friends in modern day Earth. She has a friend by the name of Max. She has, friends that know about her culture and about her history. And now her arch nemesis makes his appearance here and does battle against Red Sonja as well. The artwork in here by Carlos Gomez is absolutely gorgeous. Red Sonja is drawn beautifully in this book, and not only does she look good, but her facial expressions look good, her eyes look beautiful, just everything about her she's just a gorgeous looking character, and she just really kicks ass. And we get to know a little bit about the main villain in the issue as well, and this issue is full of action. There's just a lot of battling, a lot of fighting going on. There's this big dragon that's released in the issue as well, and really we get to learn a little bit about the history of Max, about where he came from, what his history is about, and how he has magic and stuff like that. So I thought this was another well-done issue of Red Sonja, and it only wants to make me read more of this series. Now, once this story arc is over, I'm very curious to see where this story is going to go from here. I'm not sure if this is an ongoing series or they're just doing this one story and then they're going to release another volume, but I wish and I hope that this series continues to go forward, because this creative team works really well with each other, and this is one of my favorite books that I look forward to every single time it is released. And the dragon that's in this book is awesome. I mean, it's just huge and gargantuan, and as there's this one page in there that shows Red Sonja and it shows Max, and you see how big this creature is, and you're like, oh shit, and they're in this museum. It's so good. So if you guys haven't checked out Red Sonja, I definitely say go ahead and pick that bad boy up. Definitely pick this up. It's worth your hard-earned cash. This was Red Sonja issue number 4. Alright. Let's see, what books are we going to talk about next? Next one is, BAM! Monsters Unleashed, issue number 1. The official ongoing. Now, when this book was first released, we all knew as it was going to be this Marvel event. And I feel like in many ways, for a lot of people, maybe when it comes to Marvel's Unleashed, this book was released at the wrong time, because this was released right off the heels of Civil War. And we're all just event fatigued. We're over this, and this was announced as it was going to be this event. Well, really, it was just an introduction to Kid Kaijo and all his monsters, and what this character can and can't do. And so this book was a real pleasant surprise when you actually read the mini-series. Now we get the ongoing series, and this is kind of almost like a reintroduction to Kid Kaijo. I don't even know how to say his name. I'm just gonna call him the Kid. So, and you get to see all his animals and all his creatures in here as well. And the artwork is pretty good. It's done by David Baldwin, which I think is nice. Colin Bunn is the writer here. And this is a modern take on, monsters from Marvel. We've got to see all the old school Marvel monsters from the 60s and 70s. Well, now we're, in 2017. Why not have new monsters, but make them modern day, make them form like Voltron or Power Rangers or whatever it is. And really what this book presented to its readers is, if you have not read the miniseries yet, this was kind of a rehash of, who these characters are, what these monsters represent, and whatnot, and who Kid is, and things like that. Now, the one thing that this book is going for it, man, is the creativity of the monsters. The monsters all look absolutely gorgeous, and they fill up the page, and it's detailed, and I love how creative that they can be with these monsters. And we get to see Herbie the robot from the Fantastic Four. He was in this book as well as kind of like an advisor, so I thought that was really cool. And we got to see just big monsters battling this gigantic squid and whatnot, and it was really a lot of fun. By the time you get to the end of it, what can you expect at the end of this book? Well, a lot of monster books have the Mole Man. So the Mole Man shows up at the end of this book, and he's like, I'm from Subterranean, and I'm going to destroy you guys. And he shows up in one of the monsters' mouth, and then we wind up finding out that the true characters behind this whole thing and that are watching the kid, and it's the new Intelligenza. I can't even say their name right, but it consists of MODOK 2.0, the Mad Thinker, the Leader, Mr. Sinister. So it was really cool to see that, and this is one of those books that you just have fun with. So at the end of the day, I say pick this book up. It's a lot of fun. Very interested to see where this series goes, and it's definitely a different type of Marvel character that's very creative that Marvel thought of, where a kid can draw on a pad and create these monsters. So good stuff. Pick it up, guys. Alright, let's talk about our next book. Our next one is bam, Superman, issue number 21. At the end of this last issue, we wound up seeing that there's more than meets the eye between the neighbors of the Kents and John's little girlfriend and the grandfather there, and there's something going on with the milk and the Betsy, the cow, and whatnot. This book is written by Patrick Gleason and Peter J. Tomasi, and Patrick Gleason does the artwork in here. The artwork is okay, but I always feel like the facial expressions are a little weird. Their eyes are like really big at times, and there's like a lot of eyeliner and stuff, but nevertheless, it's very interesting. And so in this issue, we wound up getting to see that Batman is missing, and we can't find Batman. But there's something going on with like the grandfather, and again, and John's girlfriend. I think her name was it Kathy? So whatever happens is throughout this particular issue, we wound up seeing there's like these mysterious like ink creatures, and Damian and John and Superman are trying to find Batman. They go to this fair, they come across this big gigantic squid. Superman fights him, and there was a lot of just like fighting and battling going on against like these ink creatures, but nothing really progressed this story. The only thing that happens by the time you wind up getting to the end of this story is that they realize that there's something in this house that they visited way back in, I think it was like a few issues back, and we wind up finding out that what's it called? John's little girlfriend has these mysterious powers, which I thought was very interesting. So by the time you wind up getting to the end of the issue, she's almost like Darth Vader in many ways. She can she's telekinetic. She can lift Damian, and he couldn't breathe, and then she can manipulate John's like heat vision or whatnot, and because she tried to shoot it and it went around him and stuff like that. So it was really interesting, but so it presents a lot of mystery going forward with this title. So even though wasn't my favorite issue this time around, again, it was just very intriguing, and it has more questions. It really didn't answer your questions from last time. So I definitely go say pick up Superman issue number 21. It's a good series. The story is really coming forward now, and we're going to see what happens for it. So I definitely say, guys, pick up Superman issue number 21. Alright, let's see here what happens. What's going to be the next book moving forward? We're going to talk about, bam, Invincible Iron Man, issue number 6. Riri Williams, Ironheart, which she should have a title named Ironheart. But we're going to see what happens going forward with Marvel Legacy, am I right? Because with Marvel Legacy, someone suggested that maybe Riri Williams should be the new War Machine because Rhodey is dead. So maybe that would make sense in Marvel Legacy to keep Riri around, right? So, going forward, again, watch our live show tonight, 9:30, 10 p.m. Standard Time, where we're going to be talking about Marvel Legacy. But anyway, going forward with Invincible Iron Man, we get to see Riri Williams was called, and she is just basically being recruited. She's being pulled in 3 different directions to work for, you know, her lab being in Tony Stark's lab, or, you know, working with all the armors and the AI and everything else. And then she's all over TV all of a sudden, and then she gets recruited to be working with the champions, and then she gets recruited to work with, trying to think of who else it was that she was wanting to get recruited for. But she's just being pulled in all these different types of directions. So the character, she just doesn't know what she wants to do. You know, does she want to stay in her garage? Does she want to work with the champions? Does she want to work in Tony Stark's lab? And then we get to see this this whole other thing going on with Dr. Doom's old home, Latveria, there as well. So in the end, I thought that this was a pretty good issue. It's not my favorite. I like Riri Williams as a character, but I just was like, okay, she's just being pulled in different directions. But this was another slower issue for me. The artwork is pretty good in this book. You know, overall, if you're into her, I say go ahead and pick it up. I know a lot of people are not into Riri just because the way she was kind of shoved in our throats in the last volume of Invincible Iron Man, but she is a really good character. She's really compassionate, and she really loves what she does, and she has these dreams, and she's very smart, and it is a kind of a nice new sidekick to Tony Stark. It's just, this issue just felt just a little bit slower for me, and it's just seeing a part in her life where she's being pulled in 3 different directions and she doesn't know where to go. So again, Invincible Iron Man, I definitely say pick it up, give her a chance. You know, a lot of people have wrote her off from the beginning, and I think she is kind of a cool character. So yeah, pick it up, guys. All right, going forward here, next book we're going to be talking about is, bam, Invincible, issue number 135, as this continues the end of all things storyline. And in this issue, we wind up getting to see things picking up a little bit. We're not quite up to the point where we need to be, where this is a full-out scale war. We get to see our heroes positioning themselves to get ready for the all-out war, where you see the new Vulturemites battling Invincible and whatnot. We wind up getting to see General Thrag going into Battle Beast's like homeworld and trying to take it over. And the book starts off pretty action heavy. It's a lot of gore into it, which you can expect from Invincible. When this book really heats up, it gets really action heavy, really gory, really fast, and you can probably expect that in the next issue. But we get to see the Coalition try to team up to try to again take on General Thrag, and we get to see a couple of good character moments in here with the daughter Tara, as she's communicating with her grandmother about, you know, where's mom and dad, you know, and she said they're going to be, you know, they're going to be doing this war, and you have to be strong. And she's like, you know, she's doing this, she's like shaking, you know, her grandmother's like, well, what are you doing? She's like, oh, I'm being strong, grandma. And it was just a real heartfelt moment there. And everything else, though, besides that, all had to do with the war. Now, there's this one thing that's going on here where General Thrag takes advantage of his children that he's cloned into this army, basically. And we can see that one of his daughters seems to be getting angry at General Thrag, and she looks like that maybe in the future that she could be the wild card here and can help turn the tide in this war, because she's very angry at General Thrag on how he treats the children here. So that was quite interesting as well. And then by the time you wind up getting to the end of it, we get to see a beautiful art page with Eve and Alan and Omni-Man and Mark just getting ready to do battle. And as we see at the end, Thrag is like, finally the war has started, you know. And we can see now that in part 4 that things are going to get quite violent going forward in this book. So what do I think of Invincible issue number 135? Well, after this story arc, this book is ending. So if you've read Invincible all this time, I say definitely pick it up. However, if you've never read Invincible at this point, I say don't pick it up. But if you want to go back and read the volumes of Invincible, it's a really great story. The character development is beautiful in there. To see where Mark has started and where he's come from up until this point is great character progression. So definitely pick it up if you are a fan. All right, let's go forward now, and we're going to talk about, bam, the big issue of the week, huh? Batman issue number 21. If you guys want to see a full-on review on Batman number 21, I did a review on it right here on Comic Frontline, and I'm sure we're going to be talking about that on Frontline Live tonight as well, about what's going on in this particular issue. But this issue, guys, by far, I thought was one of my favorite issues of the week, as we get to see as this book kind of pays tribute to, like, Watchmen in itself. Just the way the paneling was laid out and whatnot. And in this issue, we get to see this hockey match that's going on, and we see Batman that's just watching it. And the next thing we wind up finding out is that there's this interaction between Psycho Pirate's mask and the Button, and we wind up seeing Thomas Wayne just briefly. And next thing we wind up seeing is that Reverse Flash comes through, and he starts kicking the crap out of Batman. And the fight between Batman and Reverse Flash was just a stalling game, because Batman asked Flash to stop by because of the relevance of the Button may be connected to the Speed Force. And so he basically had to stall for an entire minute. And it was tough, because as you got to see this countdown, you get to see how much ass Reverse Flash was kicking in this book. In 2 seconds, Batman got punched twice, not twice, but like 8 times, and it was intense. And just as you thought that Flash is gonna come on time, no, he doesn't come on time. He comes very, very late. And when he finally comes through, he's just in shock and in surprise that he sees Batman lying there on the floor, all beat to bloody hell. And then Reverse Flash, well, yeah, he's in much worse shape. So this was a very action heavy book, and it definitely was a great introduction to the Button, and I cannot wait to see what happens in the Flash issue this week. So if you guys are not reading Batman at this time, I say go ahead, pick it up, and then you gotta go ahead and pick up Flash that comes out tomorrow, and this continues that storyline. So definitely pick up this book, guys. Really awesome read. Alright, so let's go on to the next book. And the next book we're going to be talking about is, bam, I Hate Fairyland, issue number 12. Now, I don't really like this book. But however, I'm reading it from Brant Fowler. If you don't know who he is, he's the other guy here on Comic Frontline who does reviews and everything else. No, Brant is a great guy. He is part of our Frontline crew, and he loves I Hate Fairyland. And so I said just for him that I was going to review this title for him, or read it for him, so we can talk about it every time it comes out. So, with I Hate Fairyland, if you guys are not familiar with it, it's about this girl named Gertrude who's been stuck in Fairyland, but she can't get out, and it's been years and years and years since she's come out. Now, ever since Volume 2 has come out now, or the second offering of this, it kind of seems like it's just been like a one issue and done type of thing. It doesn't seem like the direction of the story's not going in any real direction. But I guess this volume, this time around, not this volume, but this second go around with the character, is she's not really focused on maybe exiting at this point, but she's actually focusing on being good. So in this issue, you wind up seeing her do these like samurai. She's pretending she's a samurai, and she's going to rescue this this baby for this particular creature. And she's like, yeah, we gotta go in there. And they're in this like mushroom or shiitake actual kingdom. And there's some funny humor in this book, which is kind of good, and the artwork is good, because it's done by Scotty Young, and he makes it all cutesy and whatnot. And at times it could be just really gory. And when she rescues this baby, we get to see the shiitakes go after Gertrude in this book, and she just makes, you know, no haste at them. She just, like, kicks their ass. Now, she does promise to be good, so she doesn't actually attack until they throw a bunch of Chinese stars at her, and she slices and dices them like freaking mushrooms, right? And there's good dialogue moments in this book, which made me laugh as well. And by the time you wind up getting to the end of this book and you get to see all this gory battle, they rescue the baby, and really the baby gets eaten at the end by the mother. It's just for food. So all this time, Gertrude was wrong. She can't do any right. It was part of the thing where this creature had to eat this baby, and the shiitakes were trying to protect it. So yeah, that's her trying to be good, and it was just weird at the end. So it was an okay issue. It's just got weird humor in here, and I'm just not, I don't know where the point of this book is. Like, where is it going? Like, is she gonna try to get out? Is she trying to be good? Is there's no point? Do you just have fun with it? I mean, is it that type of book? So it was okay for me. I'm gonna give it an average rating. I'm gonna leave it on the fence. You guys can pick it up, or you can not pick it up. So it's just one of those books. I did quite enjoy it. There were some good moments in there. It just, the end let me down. I was like, oh, she ate the kid. That's kind of gross, right? You know, so I don't know. All right, let's move forward. We're going to go on to our next issue, and that one is Plastic, issue number 1. Lots of different types of issues for this particular book, lots of different covers for this particular book. I got this variant cover where it pays tribute to the Peter Parker Mary Jane wedding issue, annual. So, what's Plastic about? It's about a guy who has gone AWOL, basically. And you don't find that out towards the end of the issue. You just find out that he's a little bit crazy, and he has sex with a blow-up doll. Yep, blow-up doll. Her name's Virginia. His name is Victor. We don't know how he got this blow-up doll, why he does this blow-up doll. All we know that is that he's attached to it, and he doesn't want to let it go. He treats it like a person. I'm thinking that after I got done reading this issue, that Virginia was actually his wife, and he had this blow-up doll created for him to represent his wife. It's the closest thing that he can get to it, and I think maybe the death of his wife has set this guy off. In the issue, when you read it, he's very smart. He knows how to fight, and he knows how to battle. And it's just one of those things where it's like he analyzes everything in the room. And it's a very interesting book. And you think at first it's just crude and just weird. But when you see that this guy was part of the government at one time, and he fights the way he fights, it kind of makes sense. Now it's just going to be interesting to see where it goes from here. How maybe he became so sick in the head, where he got the blow-up doll, and it's just interesting to see, instead of using a real person as him rescuing her, it's this doll. So very interesting book. The artwork is pretty good. It reminds me of Ryan Ottley's artwork from Invincible. If you guys want to check out something different, I definitely say pick this book up, guys. It is a pretty interesting book. It's not as sick as it sounds. It's just something mentally ill with this guy, and again, I think it's his wife that he's using to carry around. So interesting stuff. So definitely, I say pick up Plastic. Look past the sick and crude humor there that you're thinking. It's different. All right, so let's move on. Next book we're going to talk about, and it's the final book, and that is Venom, issue number 6. Now, when it comes to Venom, I've been hating the series, but for some reason I've been picking it up, because I like Venom. I like that he's connected to the Spider-Man universe, and for a while now we've been hearing that Eddie Brock is going to get the symbiote back. And when we got this cover, I was like, oh man, I hope it's just not for one issue. I hope it's truly back. And Yes, guys, finally, in this issue, you do wind up seeing Eddie Brock back with the Venom symbiote. And we wind up getting to see that loser, Lee Price, get thrown in jail. That guy should have never been in the Marvel Universe, but I get how it kind of led to all this. It was just, oh, it was like torture getting to this. But it was very interesting because it sets the stage up again for Spider-Man and Venom to do battle. Because Spider-Man was behind the whole thing on trying to catch the symbiote. As he sets the symbiote up to, go get attached to his body once again. And he captures it in a cylinder. And then we wind up seeing Eddie Brock being mentally stimulated by the symbiote once again to get reattached to it, and he breaks it free, and by the time you wind up getting to the end, you know that he's attached to this symbiote, and it's like, here we go, Venom is back, great to see it back in the Spidey universe. It's going back to its traditional numbering. It's one of the first books that is going back to its numbering in the Marvel Legacy type of thing, even though it's doing it maybe prematurely, but I definitely say at this point, pick up Venom, guys. It was really a nice issue to read. And just for anything, it's just to get that loser Lee Price out of here. So, great stuff there, guys. So, there you guys have it. There is episode 9 for Pay It or Slay It. Didn't slay any books this week, guys. I pretty much recommended every single book on here. So now, guys, it's your turn in the comments box below to tell me which books you would want to pay for, which books you want to slay, and what were your favorite books this week. And fans, as always, thank you for watching. And till that next comic book review, this is Mike Spider Slayer signing off. And again, guys, don't forget to check us out tonight, 9:30 p.m. 10-ish p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we talk about comic news and our top 5. So again, guys, thank you for watching. And this has been episode number 9 of Pay It or Slay It. See you soon, guys. Bye.